In 1938 or 1933, depending on how you define created, Joe Siegel created Superman. To keep the series fresh and alive, he introduced new elements every 6 months or so, adding to the mythology surrounding the character. After guiding Superman through the 40s and 50s, times of enormous change in the world, Siegel decided to throw in the notion of a completely contrary universe, called Bizarro world, circa 1963. In this world, every norm of the Earth was turned upside down and inside out. The legion of superheroes fought for evil. Batman's counterpart, Bizarro, deemed the world's worst detective, sported a futility belt filled with cigarette butts. Garbage men delivered trash to homes, and of course, scientists shot rockets into the ground. Tragically, sometime in 1986, the hideous sorcerer, Mr. McZiptic, causes Bizarro world to implode, never to be heard from again except in Earth parodies of SNL and Seinfeld. For a while here on Earth, despite our usual wars, terrorist attacks, and a modicum of civil unrest, and unspoken acceptance of racial inequality, things are humming along pretty well. There was even talk that there was a black president. Then, in 2016, a comet strikes the Earth, and weird changes begin to ooze into and then out of the once thought of almost extinct cottage cheese-looking underbelly of the American society. It was a subtle slime, but a slime nonetheless. At first, there were feeble efforts to contain it. Then, quite literally, acts, small and large, of Congress to impede it. Nothing could stop it, really. And just when people responsible for its rise started getting a bit queasy, it morphed into Bizarro World 2. This was then exacerbated by a multiplication ray that came in the form of COVID-19, a weird, politically neutral scourge similar but not quite like the typhoid or the Black Plague. The MP ray itself was undeftly wielded by an earthly reincarnation of Mr. McZiptic in the guise of an American president during the second most famous Ides of March 2020. This new Mr. McZiptic 2 tripped early and often and misfired, setting off a chain reaction that was ultimately the dawning of the first Bizarro spring. Almost immediately, renowned doctors became villains. Scientists with PhDs and years of experience in grinding out the scientific method were found to be liars and conspiratists of the worst sort. Policemen committed crimes, and even healthy, educated people went to parties to get sick. There was one time, on one particular day, when a governor sued a mayor over wearing masks while wearing a mask. Journalists throughout the land remarked that this second coming of Bizarro World would have made the harsh, wizened old Bizarro 1 leader weep with tears of contemptible glee. Me not so unhappy, he'd say. As the cycle seemed perpetual, Earthlings became hopeless. Then the cycle became more perpetual. Overlooking the fact that they had paid close attention to DC Comics number 97, September 1986, or The Wizard of Oz, they would know that Bizarro 1, through Mr. McZiptic, destroys himself and his planet. But of course not before he unsaves his own son by rocketing him off into another planet with a collapsing core. In the end, a vaccine and the definitive oyster of Mr. McZiptic 2 may be a better solution for the Earth's people who presently carry the onus of dual citizenship in two worlds.